A closed-door meeting just changed everything. The Cleveland Browns' new head coach sat down with his entire offensive staff, pulled out a folder marked confidential, and laid out a plan that nobody saw coming. Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback the Browns just used a top 10 pick on, the son of prime time, the player who was supposed to save this franchise, might not even start week 1. What was said in that room has now leaked to the media, and the fallout is absolutely insane. This isn't about development. This isn't about easing him in. This is about power, control, and a coaching staff that might be setting up the most expensive draft pick in Browns history to fail before he ever takes a snap. Before we expose what's really happening inside the Browns facility, hit that subscribe button right now because this story is about to get wild and you don't want to miss what comes next. Let me take you inside the Cleveland Browns war room because what's happening right now with Shedeur Sanders isn't just another quarterback controversy. It's a full-blown organizational power struggle that's playing out behind closed doors, and the leaked details are absolutely shocking. It's late April 2025. The NFL draft just concluded. Against all odds, despite weeks of leaked reports about internal division and fear of Deion Sanders' influence, the Cleveland Browns actually pulled the trigger. With the 8th overall pick, they selected Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado. The announcement sent shockwaves through the football world. Browns fans erupted in celebration. Social media exploded with reactions. Deion Sanders posted a proud message about his son, and for one brief shining moment, Cleveland fans believed their nightmare was finally over. But that moment didn't last long. Within 48 hours of drafting Shedeur, whispers started circulating, not from outside the organization this time, but from inside. Sources close to the Cleveland Browns coaching staff began leaking information to trusted reporters, and what they revealed was disturbing. The new head coach, let's call him what he is, a defensive-minded veteran who's never developed a franchise quarterback in his career, had a plan for Shedeur Sanders, and it wasn't the plan Browns fans were expecting. According to multiple reports from credible NFL insiders with direct knowledge of internal meetings, the coaching staff held a confidential strategy session just 2 days after the draft. Present in that room were the head coach, the offensive coordinator, the quarterback's coach, the general manager, and several key offensive assistants. The topic? How to handle Shedeur Sanders. And here's where it gets explosive. The head coach reportedly laid out a plan for development that would have Shedeur sitting on the bench for most, if not all, of the 2025 season. The reasoning? He's not ready. He needs to learn the system. He needs to mature. He needs to earn the starting job through practice reps and classroom work, not through draft position or media hype. Now, on the surface, that might sound reasonable. Plenty of rookie quarterbacks have sat and learned before starting. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Favre for 3 years. Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith for 1 year. Jordan Love sat behind Aaron Rodgers. The sit-and-learn model has worked for some franchises. But here's the problem. The Browns don't have Brett Favre or Alex Smith or Aaron Rodgers. They have Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, the quarterback who's owed over $150 million in guaranteed money. The quarterback who's coming off a torn Achilles tendon. The quarterback who hasn't played elite football since 2020. The quarterback who's been injured, inconsistent, and frankly, a disaster since arriving in Cleveland. And according to these leaked reports, the coaching staff's plan is to start Deshaun Watson in week 1, give him the reins to the offense, and let Shedeur Sanders watch from the sideline holding a clipboard. When that information leaked to the media, the reaction was immediate and absolutely brutal. ESPN broke the story first. Adam Schefter reported that sources inside the Browns organization confirmed the coaching staff was leaning towards starting Watson and bringing Shedeur along slowly. Within minutes, every major sports outlet picked up the story. FS1, NFL Network, Bleacher Report, The Athletic, everyone was reporting the same thing. The Browns just drafted Shedeur Sanders 8th overall, and they're planning to bench him. Social media went nuclear. Browns fans who had just celebrated the Shedeur pick were now furious.
Hashtags like Start Shedeur and Bench Watson started trending nationally. Fans posted angry videos questioning the coaching staff's competence. Cleveland sports radio was flooded with calls demanding answers. But it gets worse, because the leaked reports didn't just reveal the plan to bench Shedeur. They revealed the reasoning behind it. And this is where the story turns from controversial to potentially toxic. According to sources who were in that confidential meeting, the head coach expressed concerns about Shedeur's readiness, not just in terms of football skills, but in terms of handling the media pressure, the spotlight, and the expectations that come with being Deion Sanders' son. One source quoted the head coach as saying something along the lines of, "We need to make sure he's ready for this environment, not just physically, but mentally. The circus that follows him isn't something most rookies deal with." The circus. That word leaked, and when it did, the narrative shifted completely. Suddenly, this wasn't about football development anymore. This was about the coaching staff being uncomfortable with Shedeur's celebrity, with his father's presence, with the media attention he brings. This was about control. This was about a coaching staff that wanted to assert dominance over a rookie quarterback by making him sit, by making him wait, by making him prove himself in ways that other top 10 picks don't have to. And the NFL world noticed. Former NFL players, especially those who played quarterback, spoke out. Several prominent veterans called out the Browns on social media and podcasts, pointing out that when you draft a quarterback 8th overall, you're not drafting a project. You're drafting a guy you believe can play immediately. If you don't think he can start, you don't take him that high. Analysts on ESPN and FS1 tore into the Browns' logic. They pointed out that Shedeur Sanders isn't some raw, small-school prospect who needs years of development. He played in the Pac-12 at Colorado. He faced elite competition. He threw for over 4,100 yards and 37 touchdowns in his final college season. He played behind a terrible offensive line and still produced. He showed NFL-ready traits. If he's not ready to compete for the starting job immediately, why did Cleveland draft him? But perhaps the most damaging criticism came from draft analysts who cover the Browns closely. They pointed out that this exact scenario, a veteran coach unwilling to start a rookie quarterback over a struggling veteran, has happened before in Cleveland. Baker Mayfield sat behind Tyrod Taylor in 2018 until Taylor got injured. The Browns wasted half a season before Baker finally got his shot and immediately played better than Taylor. History was repeating itself, and Browns fans could see it happening in real time.
Meanwhile, reports started surfacing about Shedeur Sanders' reaction to all of this. According to sources close to the Sanders family, Shedeur was blindsided by the leaked plan. During the draft process, the Browns had reportedly told him and his representation that he'd have a legitimate chance to compete for the starting job immediately, that they weren't drafting him to sit, that they believed he could play right away. But now, just days after being drafted, the messaging had completely changed, and Shedeur's camp was reportedly furious. Deion Sanders, who had been publicly supportive of Cleveland after they drafted his son, went noticeably quiet. No more congratulatory posts, no more praise for the Browns organization, just silence. And in the world of primetime, silence speaks volumes. Then came the counter leaks, because in Cleveland, nothing stays secret for long, and the Browns front office has more leaks than a sinking ship. Sources on the personnel side, the scouts and talent evaluators who had pushed hard for Shedeur during the draft process, started leaking their own version of events. According to these sources, the coaching staff's plan to bench Shedeur was never discussed or agreed upon before the draft. The front office drafted Shedeur with the expectation that he'd compete for the starting job immediately, that the best quarterback would play, that they were moving on from the Deshaun Watson era. But the coaching staff, particularly the head coach, had different ideas. And now there was a full-blown internal war brewing between the front office and the coaching staff over how to handle the most important draft pick the Browns had made in years. This is organizational dysfunction at its finest, and it's vintage Cleveland Browns. But let's dig deeper into what this secret plan actually entails, because the leaked details paint an even more troubling picture. According to the reports, the coaching staff's plan isn't just to start Watson in Week 1. It's to give Watson a significant leash, potentially 6 to 8 games, before even considering a change at quarterback. The reasoning is that Watson needs time to prove he's healthy, to show he can still play at a high level, to justify that massive contract the Browns are stuck with. But here's the brutal reality that every football analyst and Browns fan understands. Deshaun Watson is not the same player he was in Houston. The injuries have taken a toll. His mobility is compromised. His decision-making has regressed. And he's now 30 years old, coming off a major Achilles injury, trying to prove he can still play elite football. The odds of Watson suddenly returning to his 2020 form are slim. The more likely scenario is that he struggles, the offense sputters, the Browns start the season 2-6 or 3-8, and then, only then, do they turn to Shedeur Sanders, who will be thrown into a situation where the season is already spiraling, the locker room is frustrated, and the pressure is massive. It's a setup for failure, and multiple analysts have said exactly that. ESPN's Dan Orlovsky, a former NFL quarterback who's now one of the most respected analysts in the game, went on air and called the Browns' reported plan organizational malpractice. He pointed out that if you believe Shedeur is your future, you don't waste a year of his rookie contract keeping him on the bench behind a quarterback who's shown no signs of returning to form. You get him on the field, you let him learn by playing, you surround him with the best coaching and support possible, and you build your offense around his strengths. But the Browns aren't doing that. They're reportedly doing the opposite. And here's where the power dynamics come into play. Because this isn't just about football philosophy. This is about a coaching staff that feels threatened by Shedeur Sanders' presence, by his star power, by his father's influence, by the media attention he brings.
The head coach is a defensive guy who's never had to deal with a celebrity quarterback. He's used to being the most important voice in the building, the authority figure who controls the narrative. But with Shedeur Sanders, that dynamic changes. Shedeur has his own platform, his own following, his own media presence, and if he's the starter, the attention will be on him, not the coach. According to sources, there's a fear within the coaching staff that if Shedeur starts immediately and struggles, which rookie quarterbacks often do, the media will blame the coaching. Deion Sanders will potentially criticize the play calling, the scheme, the development. The spotlight will intensify, and the coaching staff doesn't want that pressure. So instead, they're reportedly choosing the path of control. Keep Shedeur on the bench, start the veteran, manage the narrative, delay the inevitable. But this strategy has a fatal flaw. It assumes that Browns fans, media, and the NFL world will be patient. It assumes that people will accept the logic of sitting a top 10 pick while a struggling veteran plays. And that's not happening. The backlash has already begun. Local Cleveland media is demanding answers. Reporters are pressing the coaching staff in every press conference. The questions are pointed. Why draft Shedeur if you don't think he can start? What's the timeline for him seeing the field? Is Deshaun Watson definitely the Week 1 starter? And every non-answer, every deflection, every "we're evaluating all our options" response just fuels more speculation and more criticism. Browns fans are organizing. There are already petitions circulating demanding that Shedeur start Week 1. Fan groups are planning protests outside the team facility. The pressure on ownership, on the Haslam family who've presided over 2 decades of losing, is mounting. And then there's the national narrative. The Browns are once again the joke of the NFL. Memes are flooding social media, showing Shedeur in a Browns uniform holding a clipboard while Watson throws interceptions. Sports talk shows are dedicating entire segments to Cleveland's dysfunction. The franchise that just tried to generate hope by drafting Shedeur Sanders has instead created another crisis. But here's what makes this situation even more volatile. Training camp is approaching, OTAs are starting soon, and when reporters and cameras get access to Browns practices, they're going to see everything. They're going to see who's taking first-team reps. They're going to see how Shedeur performs. They're going to see Watson's limitations. If Shedeur lights it up in practice, if he's clearly outperforming Watson, if he's making every throw, showing command of the offense, and looking like the better quarterback, the pressure on the coaching staff to start him will be unbearable. The leaked plan to bench him will look even more ridiculous. And if that happens, if public pressure forces the coaching staff to abandon their secret plan and start Shedeur earlier than intended, it'll expose the dysfunction even further. It'll show that the Browns don't have a coherent strategy, that they're making decisions based on fear and politics rather than football merit. Either way, Cleveland loses. They've already lost control of the narrative. They've already created division between the front office and coaching staff. They've already damaged their relationship with their rookie quarterback and his family. This is the Cleveland Browns in 2025, an organization so broken, so dysfunctional, that even when they make the right pick in the draft, they find a way to turn it into a disaster. The secret plan has been exposed. The reaction has been brutal. And now, as we head toward training camp and the regular season, the biggest question isn't whether Shedeur Sanders will start. The biggest question is whether the Cleveland Browns can survive another self-inflicted crisis without completely imploding. The Browns' secret plan for Shedeur Sanders has been exposed, and the fallout is just beginning. Training camp will reveal the truth. The entire NFL is watching to see if Cleveland can get this right, or if they'll fumble another generational opportunity. This video is based on reports from NFL insiders, leaked information, media sources, and publicly available developments surrounding the Cleveland Browns' handling of Shedeur Sanders. Internal coaching strategies, organizational discussions, and roster decisions are reported based on multiple sources and should be considered ongoing developments, subject to change. The Browns' final quarterback decision will be revealed as the season approaches.